All right, so today we're going to talk about cleaning the sediment bowl. So fuel goes from the fuel tank down the fuel, through the fuel filter, down through the fuel line. And then right where the fuel switch is here, there's a little sediment bowl, and then it goes from that into the float, or into the carburetor, sits in the float bowl, and then gets sucked up through the carburetor. First thing I'm doing here, like usual, is disconnecting the spark plugs so we don't have any issues with accidental startup. Then I'll stop or turn off the fuel, so making sure that fuel is not going to pour out from the fuel line when I loosen it. So you can just take a socket and you can actually just loosen this sediment bowl. Be very careful you can see if you're not careful, the bolt will slip off. You can round that bolt head on the sediment bowl. Very careful to loosen that slowly. This sediment bowl is going to be full of fuel. Even if you drained your fuel out prior, it'll still be filled with fuel, so it's good to wrap a little towel around it and try to keep it upright as you remove it, because it's going to pour, if you're not careful, it's going to pour fuel all over the place. So the whole point of the sediment bowl is as fuel goes through the line and into the float bowl, any particulate or sediment that passes through the filter will hopefully settle out. Just gravity will hopefully pull it down into the bottom of this float bowl or this sediment bowl, and stop it from ending up in the carburetor and gumming up the carburetor. So I've removed that sediment bowl, and as you can see, I'm trying to keep it upright. And there's a little O-ring, a little rubber O-ring that came out on top of that, so I don't want to lose that or misplace it. And that float bowl there is full of gas, or full of fuel from the fuel tank. Even though I had emptied the fuel prior, it was still in there. So you're gonna pour that into a clean container to dispose of in hazardous waste removal bin. So at the bottom there, there's just this engine hasn't been run very long, but there is just a touch of sediment in there. And here I am, just kind of some hand motions on what the fuel does is it allows the sediment to kind of fall down into the bottom there. So what we want to do is we want to clean it with any sort of carb cleaner. And so I'll take that sediment bowl, and I'm going to actually place it in the basket here and just let it soak in this carb cleaner. Now this rubber O-ring we do not want to put in the carb cleaner. So I've let that soak. I was just saying you don't want to put the rubber O-ring in the carb cleaner because the carb cleaner will actually eat away at that rubber O-ring. So we're gonna want to make sure we keep that away from any sort of solvent or carb cleaner or anything like that. So here I am just lifting that sediment bowl back out of the carb cleaner and just wiping it with a clean towel, getting any of that carb cleaner off of it, and anything that's sort of settled down from the sides of that bowl into the bottom. We just want to wipe that out as well. You can always give it a quick spurts with aerosol cleaner. Make sure it's something that is fuel compatible, like a carburetor cleaner as well. So hard to see, but that's as clean as it was from factory, if not cleaner. And before I move on, I'm going to make sure I close that container. I don't want any spills, bumps, wiggles, jiggles, anything like that. So always make sure you kind of police your kit in a way to keep only one thing out at a time, right? So we're going to close that chem dip before I open up this bottle of two-stroke oil. So oil is for the O-ring. Just want to lubricate, like I said before in previous videos, any reinstallation of any O-ring, it's good to replace it, but it's good to lubricate it. That keeps it flexible. And also as I install that sediment bowl, it's going to allow the O-ring to seat properly. Right? If you try to put in a dry O-ring, it's going to grab the edge of the sediment bowl and it's going to try to stick or fold or something like that. Just giving it just a touch of lubrication will allow it to install and seat properly. Here I am trying to install it while sitting on top of the sediment bowl. I did not have success with this. So what I did is I just gently pushed it up into where it's supposed to go and then threaded the sediment bowl in after it, and that seemed to work pretty well. Then I ditched the gloves before I pick up my wrench because I don't want to get carburetor cleaner or two-stroke oil on my wrench or on my tools, please and thank you. So I'll wrap those up. Yeah. Getting stuff out of the way, keeping things nice and clean. This is setting myself up for success. Right? Get back in there, with my torque wrench. Surprise, surprise. So the torque setting for the sediment bowl is 49 to 80 inch-pounds. So you're going to want to make sure you tighten that sediment bowl to 49 to 80 inch-pounds. I think I probably set it to about 60 inch-pounds here, or something around there. And this is where the lubrication of the O-ring is very important, because that, as we kind of snug or torque this sediment bowl to specification, it'll allow that sediment bowl to move and not pull that O-ring out of position as you tighten that down. So I'm just snugging it up, and then I'm going to go real slow and listen for that subtle click of that sediment of the torque wrench. And there it is. Double check it. We're good. Very subtle. Once again, if it feels like you're putting in too much pressure, and you probably are, so back it off and try again. Here I am resetting that torque wrench to the lowest setting on the torque wrench to allow it to stay calibrated, and putting it away directly. And that's all there is to cleaning the sediment bowl. So I just replace the spark plug wire, go check in with McDonald, and you're done. Great job.